Clarence Football Club.
Be outstanding for the Mayor of the City of Clarence, Councillor Brendan Blomley.
Well, good evening all. Before proceeding, I pay my respects to the Murrumbidgee people as the traditional and original custodians of the lands on which we meet, and I acknowledge the continuing connection of the Tasmanian Aboriginal people to the sky, lands and waterways. I pay my respects to elders past and present. Before we continue, I'd ask colleagues to please take a moment of quiet reflection and respect. Well, thank you, councillors. Please be seated. I extend a warm welcome to all those present and thank you for your attendance this evening to this annual general meeting for 2023. This meeting is being broadcast live on YouTube, and what is said in this meeting this evening is not protected by a privilege. There is a link to the agenda papers on Council's website. Item number 3 is introduction of councillors, and I start this evening to introduce our Deputy Mayor, our hard-working Deputy Mayor, Councillor Alison Ritchie. And with all due respect to this side of the chamber, my notes actually have me over here. So introducing Councillor Wendy Kennedy, Councillor Heather Chong, Councillor Beth Warren, Councillor Jade Darko, Councillor Emma Goyne, Councillor James Walker, Councillor Richard James, Councillor Daniel Hume, Councillor Bree Hunter, and of course Councillor Tony Mulder. So there are no apologies from councillors. Item number 5 is meeting procedures. Meeting procedures are as produced and available on the documentation that's available to everyone here this evening. Item number 6 is confirmation of the minutes of the 2022 annual general meeting. The recommendation is that the minutes of the 2022 Annual General Meeting as circulated be taken as read and confirmed. Moved by the Deputy Mayor. Seek a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Chong. All those in favour? I put the motion. So carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Item number 7 now is we move on to annual report. The first is a presentation and general overview of achievements by the Mayor. So with your indulgence, colleagues, I could not have envisaged a year more rewarding than the past 12 months as your Mayor. Together, we have achieved so much and have a lot to be proud of. Despite our diverse range of backgrounds and values, we have united to achieve great things for this city, a truly wonderful representation of democracy and of grace. There is no shortage of achievements for Council this year, and I'm delighted to share in some of these achievements here tonight. Over the past year, the Derwent Ferry Service has experienced great success and provided another connection to Hobart. I am proud to have been a strong supporter of this service since day one and delighted that Council and our community have so overwhelmingly been supportive of this service. Looking ahead, the welcome news of expanding the number of ferry terminals will provide more commuting options for our community and also be a boost for tourism opportunities in Clarence. I'm delighted that popular beaches on our coastline will be well utilised this summer, following recent council works to improve water quality at both Howrah Beach and Bellreeve Beach. This was a very rewarding outcome for a collective of those involved, including Taswater and property owners who helped to address these issues. The current works to vastly improve access to the Richmond Riverbank parklands will be yet another boost for our region, making the historic landscape fully available to everyone and anyone. It won't surprise you to know that the safety of our residents and ratepayers is something very close to my heart. This year I was extremely proud to launch the Dobina Hoon campaign, which was recently complemented by the establishment of the Eastern Shore Police Youth Task Force, both of which work to make our region a safer place for all. In our arts and events space, we've had the pleasure of a jam-packed schedule and opportunities to showcase the city's rich and vibrant event culture. Importantly, these events strengthen our affinity with Tasmania's thriving event community. Earlier in the year, we had 3 major festivals in the city: the Clarence Jazz Festival, Mona Foma, and the 10 Days Festival, each bringing their own group of eclectic and enriching talents to the Eastern Shore. We are again gearing up for another tremendous festival season with the Clarence Jazz Festival in early January 2024, reaching its 28th year running. We also have a long list of upcoming events to commemorate the Richmond Bicentenary, which starts this Sunday. Through the hard work of our community development team, we've been able to deliver a range of community programs. These are vital programs that help support and educate our community on prioritising health and well-being. In responding to critical homelessness in southern Tasmania, Council helped facilitate a community shower to help support people in need and those doing it tough. As we continue to lean into these conversations and issues, our city grows and increasingly becomes a welcoming city for all. Indeed, our city has seen tremendous economic and population growth in recent years, and as this is only projected to continue, we are committed to being future-focused in our planning and in our decision-making. Of course, we cannot make decisions without consulting those we represent. In the past 12 months, I am proud to say that our council has undertaken more community consultations than any year before. Through a rigorous consultation process, we've been able to engage people from all sections of the community and invite them to share their thoughts and their ideas. This will continue to be a key priority area for Council in years to come. I'm proud of our staff at Council who are always working diligently behind the scenes. I've seen and experienced firsthand their dedication and passion in providing a high level of professionalism and their advice and support to Council and to Clarence as a whole. So to our CEO, Ian Nelson, and to your team, Ian, thank you all so very much for all that you've done. It's been greatly appreciated by all of us. Finally, I'd like to thank all my fellow councillors for a year of dedication, for a year of hard work, and a year of commitment to our community. We haven't always agreed, but we've come into this place with the right mindset to serve, and that is, above all else, the most important aspect. So, after so much success over the past 12 months, I can't wait to enjoy another bright and exciting year ahead in our wonderful city as we go forward into 2024. And that ends my report. So now we move on to the presentation by the Chief Executive Officer. Thank you, CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. This year saw a rate increase of 4.82%, which was around 1% lower than Hobart's Consumer Price Index of March 22. This manageable rise was a result of targeted savings following on from rigorous reviews of council's programs, activities and services. Faced with the fastest growing population in the state, it was critical that we continued to balance the need to invest in the future of Clarence to keep up with the current and projected growth whilst maintaining a manageable budget that delivers valued services and capital improvements. Our approved capital program for the 22-23 financial year was set at $16.8 million. The funded projects included completing $1 million of major dig-outs and pavement reconstruction, $1.5 million spent on road renewal projects, $3 million on footpaths, curb and gutter works throughout the city, $12 million on ongoing stormwater upgrades and $880,000 on the soon-to-be-completed Blossom Park in Cambridge. A highlight of the financial year was welcoming a new council in November. This saw a mix of new faces blended with re-elected councillors to represent our community, including a new mayor and deputy mayor. Since election, the new councillors worked cohesively across a range of key stakeholders to make significant decisions for our city. Consultation with the community is an increasingly important tool for council, particularly through our online platform, Your Say Clarence. This helps inform the decisions that shape the future of our growing and evolving city. This year we engaged with a record number of participants in 17 different consultations with 30,387 visits to our Your Say pages and 3,863 surveys completed. Feedback was received on potential changes to places, policies, strategies and activities. A key strategic focus for Council this year was the development of the City Heart Plan, which will guide development in the area for decades to come. The scale and ambition of this master plan is like no other previously undertaken by Council. The research for the future of the heart of Clarence has included the most comprehensive community consultation with a multi-pronged approach over several stages as the project progressed. The City Heart consultations revealed the directions the city could take and how Council can best position the city for strategic growth. During the year, a suite of concepts was developed by consultants detailing how the City Heart could look, and these were shared with the community and stakeholders during our extensive engagement program. The proposed development of by Shambroad at Kangaroo Bay also continued to be an area of focus for Council during the financial year. 5 years after the development was first given approval with minimum works undertaken at the site, in February Council voted to trigger the buyback clause on the Kangaroo Bay Wharf site, with the site now being included in the City Heart Plan. Council celebrated the 50th anniversary of its iconic Chambers building ahead of announcing a new evolution for the award-winning building. Our City Heart project also encompasses this important civic site, and this critical community building will evolve to better suit the needs of Council and the wider community. Local Tasmanian firm 1+2 Architecture were engaged to provide a new design for the Chambers building with our office spaces and our office spaces, with the goal of ensuring we meet the modern needs and operations of Council, plus allow more accessible spaces for the community and visitors to utilise the facility in the future. Council voted to restructure its current special committees in April to allow for better collaboration, strategic alignment and improve administrative efficiency following the approval of several key strategies over the past year. The new structure established 5 advisory committees and 6 standing working groups reporting to a nominated advisory committee. Also in the April meeting of Council voted to no longer hold citizenship ceremonies or community events on the 26th of January. In accordance with the Australian Citizenship Ceremonies Code, from 2024, the January citizenship ceremony is to be held in the 3 days prior to or the 3 days following January 26. Council's Citizen of the Year Awards ceremonies will remain in the same format, with the Citizen of the Year Awards coupled with volunteer recognition events being held in May. However, this has now been permanently decoupled from Australia Day. Thankfully, the effects of COVID-19 have reduced in the past year. However, some pandemic effects are still felt in the Clarence community. Council's COVID Safe Committee regularly meets to assess the COVID-19 effects on staff and council operations with the aim of providing a safe working environment for all. I'd like to acknowledge the efforts of all council staff, whether they be indoor, outdoor, or those working on our many other community service sites. Our teams are dedicated to providing the best possible services and outcomes for our city and community, and I appreciate and thank them for their continued efforts. I also wish to thank the new and returning councillors who have worked together since the new council was sworn in November 22. The new councillors displayed strong leadership and clear focus throughout the year. Together with staff, everyone has worked tirelessly to make Clarence a brighter place. I'd like to thank you all for your ongoing support over the past year.
Thank you, CEO. Moving now on to the presentation of Council's 2022-23 financial report by the Acting Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Rodney Purvis. Mr. Purvis, would you care to provide that report, please?
Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity to present Council's financials this evening. In accordance with the Local Government Act...
Stand, please, Mr. Purvis.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Try and hide. In accordance with the Local Government Act, the financial statements of Council were lodged with the Tasmanian Audit Office within the required 45-day statutory deadline. The audit undertaken by the Tasmanian Audit Office saw the Assistant Auditor General issue an unqualified audit report. I'd like to thank the team from the Tasmanian Audit Office for their efforts in relation to this year's engagement and the resulting audit opinion. Some key messages from the financials. So Council recorded a positive financial result. The underlying result of $8 million is a key financial management indicator. This measure shows Council's estimated operating results from own sourced funds. That is, it does not include any capital grants and the contribution of any capital assets. The underlying result of $8 million does include our share of investment in associates, the derecognition of assets, and operating grants that may not have been expended in the year the revenue was received. Delivering an underlying surplus consistent with the long-term financial planning supports the delivery of Council's strategic goals, which allows Council to invest in projects that seek to deliver benefits to the community. It allows Council to minimise rate shock to the community. The financial statements show that the city is continuing to grow. An indicator of this is the $20 million of subdivision assets that were recognised this financial year. This infrastructure includes such assets as roads, footpaths, curb and gutter, and street lighting that are now held as assets of Council. Although these are contributed assets, It's worth noting the significant cost in the future and the oversight that is now Council's responsibility. In the past 5 years, Council has received contributed assets of approximately $65.5 million. This ongoing growth in the city also places an asset renewal burden on infrastructure that must be funded in a responsible and sustainable manner into the future. This can be achieved by ensuring that the Council's renewal effort is adequately funded by cash-backed reserves, such as the Asset Renewal Reserve, which at 30 June 23 had grown to $32 million. During the year, park and recreation assets were subject to a full revaluation, and roads and bridges were indexed and will be fully revalued in the 23-24 financial year. Regarding Taswater, in the financial year, Taswater revalued its water and sewer assets, which resulted in an increase of Council's investment in Taswater by $5 million to $171 million. Taswater paid a $2.6 million dividend during the year, which is in alignment with Taswater projections. This included a $442,000 dividend, which Taswater plans to pay each year for 5 years, funds permitting, to replace dividends that were withheld during the COVID period. With reference to cash balances saw an increase of $5 million from the prior year. The increase in cash held was largely a result of a delay in commencing some of our capital works projects. Cash and investments at 30 June 23 were $103 million. $58 million of this was restricted, that is subject to grants, staff leave provisions and reserves held, such as the Asset Renewal Reserve, $32 million, Public Open Space Reserve of $4 million, Car Parking Reserve of $2 million, and a Loan Funding Renewal Reserve of $7.5 million. The remaining $45 million is unrestricted, which is to support working capital. The cash balance is a direct result of a long-term financial management strategy that was implemented 25 years ago. Almost $16 million was expended in cash on the delivery of capital projects. This amount was lower than expected due to continual contractor shortages and staff resourcing issues. The statement of financial position records $23 million in capital works in progress, and as projects are completed, this amount will be transferred from WIP to the relevant asset class. Work in progress remain consistent with the prior year, demonstrating a strong focus on balancing the completion of current projects by the asset management team with the commencement of new projects under Council's ambitious capital works program. During the year, Council approved an additional borrowing of $3 million for the Beach Street Stormwater project. As this project did not physically begin until the current 23-24 financial year, these funds were not taken up prior to 30 June. Council did repay over $5 million of prior year borrowings, and this was largely related to the $14.8 million loan that Council was awarded as part of the local government loan program to assist local government with continued infrastructure investment during COVID times. As agreed by Council, it is planned for this loan to be fully repaid in December 2024, prior to the cessation of the interest-free period. Some points for a watching brief. Council's implementation of the Local Government Division's financial statement template for 23-24, bringing our statements into line with their template. The continuation of a high inflation environment and the impact on capital works tenders and services provided to the community. The low amount of completed capital works in the 22-23 and prior years has seen our current capital program grow to $73 million for 23-24, which leads to increased implications for resourcing. Increasing interest rates and the implications this will have on funding of long-term multi-generational asset infrastructure. And another watch item is the asset sustainability ratio, which is below the desired benchmark. This relates to the condition and service level expectation on the community infrastructure and will be a matter considered within long-term asset management plans. Finally, regarding our financial position, Council continues to ensure that the cycle of asset revaluations occurs within the requirements of the Australian Accounting Standard. The core principle of the financial strategy is to ensure that Council is in a sound financial position to fund all activities and can secure current and future asset service levels that align with community expectations of a modern and progressive city. Council is very well positioned to support its strategic goals and deliver benefits to the community in a well-structured, principled and affordable manner. And that finishes the CFO report.
Mr. Purvis, thank you very much for that comprehensive overview, and please extend to Mrs. Murrell and the rest of her team, your team, our appreciation for the hard work that you've done this year. So thank you very much for your report this evening. Thank you. Moving now on to summary of submissions received.
Mr. Mayor, is it possible to ask a question of our finance manager?
Yeah, no, that's at item number 10. Questions on notice or questions without notice at item 11.
Thank you.
I'll come to you then, Councillor James. Thank you. We'll follow the agenda as it's printed and published. Thank you. Moving on to summary submissions received. There's been none received. Moving now on to, obviously there's no discussions of the submissions received. We move now to the motion to adopt the annual report. The recommendation is, thank you, moved by Councillor Hume, seconded by Councillor Chong. That is, that the 2022-2023 annual report be adopted. It's been moved and seconded. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you, colleagues. Unanimously supported. Thank you. So it's been, the recommendation's been adopted. We now move on to item 8, motions on notice. There's been none received, albeit I've got here report on activities and achievements of council committees and authorities. Councillors have an opportunity to provide a report from the representative appointments if they would so desire. Are there any colleagues wishing to provide an overview? Councillor Walker, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I'm delighted to have been appointed Chair of the Coughing Refuse Joint Disposal Authority through the 22-23 year. And the great thing about councils is there's so many different levels of business and so many activities that everyone can find, I guess, something to get involved with. I think this council, as if you like, the main equity holder, should be very proud of this leading authority in the state. Some of the things we do include the over 650 tonnes of, if you like, waste that we've collected on behalf of the likes of City Mission, St Vincent de Paul and those charity entities that suffer from people dumping waste and unusable clothing on their facilities. I think also, you know, in the environmental stakes, the fact that, you know, we generated over 16,000 megawatt hours through the you know, extraction and generation using the methane, and that saved, I think, about 147,000 tonnes of carbon that would have otherwise been emitted. It's profitable, it's forward-thinking, and you know, the Benivap trial with managing leachate is something that the rest of, I think, the state can learn from, as well as the fact that I think there is a desire within the community and around the chamber for FOGO to be further investigated, and we're moving forward on that. So that's the report I'd like to make.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Councillor James.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'd like to apologise to all those members of the Tracks and Trails Working Group, because we've made a slow start to the year, given that those committees were confirmed earlier in the year. The good news is that we are about to have a meeting on the 12th, and then in the new year we'll have regular meetings as and when required or in accordance with the Constitution. So it's good news, and it's all steam ahead as far as 2024 is concerned for the Tracks and Trails Working Group. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor James. Any other colleagues wishing to provide there being none? We now move on to item number 9, which the motions on notice, there are none. So there are no questions on notice either. We move now on to item number 11, questions without notice. Councillor James, I understand you had a question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Look, it's in relation to the financials. I note from the Treasurer, or from the Acting Finance Director, if that's the terminology, that there's 71 million that's been sort of earmarked in capital works for the 23-24 financial year. My question through you, Mr. Mayor, is of those numbers, or that number of 71 million, how much of those are aspirational and how much are those achievable?
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Mr Purvis, are you in a position to provide an answer?
I'll need to take that question on notice, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Jones?
Yes, the second question I have is in relation to, and I have been looked very carefully through the annual report, but I'm not able to ascertain, but perhaps the acting finance manager could advise, what is the balance of council's cash reserves, excuse me, at the 30th of June 2023?
Mr Purvis? And I think from memory we had a similar question last council meeting. CEO.
Sorry, thank you, Mayor. We did have an identical question last council meeting. That answer is on the agenda, which will be released on Thursday. I just can't remember what the number was off the top of my head.
Mr Purvis, don't feel any pressure. Do you know off the top of your head?
Unfortunately not, Mayor. I'll need to take that one on notice.
Right. You obviously didn't draft the answer. Okay.
A final question.
Councillor James.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council has, as I understand it, two loans. One, $5 million for the upgrade of Pass Road, and also $1 million for the commencement of the redevelopment of the council, Clarence Council buildings and chambers. So my question is, when do repayments commence, and what is the timing of those repayments?
Thank you, Councillor James. Thank you. That'll be stuck out a weekly briefing report.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Mulder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Last as usual. My question also relates to the acting Chief Financial Officer. There was a figure mentioned in the rollover of capital funds due to non-starting of projects. Could you just, question A is, could you please just repeat that for my edification? And just how many of those non-project starts were due to their exceeding the pre-tender estimate, or a lack of people in a position to commence those projects during the financial year for which the money was allocated?
Thank you, Councillor Mulder. Mr Purvis, you in a position to provide an answer?
Thank you, Mayor. In relation to the first question, Councillor Mulder, regarding cash, I think that was in reference to the cash balances increased by $5 million from the prior year due to a delay in commencing some of the capital assets and capital projects. In relation to the second part regarding exceeding pre-tender estimates, I'll need to take that one on notice.
Thank you, Mr Purvis. Councillor Mulder, any other colleagues wish to ask a question without notice? There being none, we now move on to item number 12, the close of the meeting. So, colleagues, thank you all very much. To those in the public gallery and those at home, thank you for your attendance this evening. And our council meeting will be here next Monday night, the 11th of December, our last council meeting for the year. But thank you for your attendance this evening. Please end the feed.